When was the last time you had a deep conversation about dating, finding a job, reaching our goals, and all the other intricate areas that make up our 20s? Every episode, I talk about these topics with real young adults who are living and learning along with the rest of us. If you want to hear how your peers are dealing with and conquering these areas of life, tune in. This is Building the Blueprint. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Kaden Meeker. Kaden's been one of my close friends for a long time now. We met here at college. Kaden, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm excited. Seem more excited. Damn.
I don't want to yell on the mic. You told me to be like normal tone. I don't know.
You know, you're soft. People,
Dude.
it sounds, I swear I'm not yelling right now. This is like just.
No, you sound fine.
Okay.
You sound fine.
We're 2 minutes in the podcast. We're less than a minute in the podcast. We're already arguing.
Perfect.
We're like an old couple.
That's like right on, like.
That's good content right
on
there.
beat. Yeah. What if we just fought?
Right here?
Yeah.
Again? That doesn't usually go well for me.
What are you, 0-3?
No, I didn't tap, technically. Technically, it's a tie.
I don't.
Technically, we're tied.
We could go 2-0-1.
We don't need to get the specific. It's fine. We'll call it a tie.
Okay.
Kaden, will you tell the guests a little bit about who you are and kind of where you're at this point in your life?
Sure. My name's Kaden Meeker, as you said. I'm a third year, 21-year-old student at the University of Oregon from Beaverton, Oregon. Born and raised in Beaverton, Oregon.
Yeah,
I guess. Currently the VP of Community Engagement with the IFC, which is Greek Life.
Yep.
The University of Oregon.
You're on the exec team that's in charge of exec teams.
Pretty much, yeah. So I deal with like group events such as, we call it FSL Week, more popularly known as Greek Week to a lot of other schools, and then just philanthropy events in general.
Right. What else? You just got a girlfriend recently?
I did just get a girlfriend. It's kind of funny because she's technically my boss, but she's the president of all the sororities. So she's on like the women's side of like what I do.
She's on this podcast a week before you.
She was.
Mia Ragland.
Yes. Kind of crazy, but yeah, it's really cool. She's really cool. It's going really good so far.
Cool. So currently 21 years old.
Yes.
University student. What are you studying?
I am a business major with a minor in sports business.
Do you have any specific field you want to get into?
I don't know. It kind of depends. I think it just depends on where I end up. I'm not really like tied down to anything specific. I feel like my brain is kind of like more naturally gifted in sports than a lot of other things. So I feel like some sort of like sports management or like anything to do. I'm a big shoe guy.
Okay.
So anything to do with like shoes, I guess.
We are Nike Capital.
We are Nike Capital.
Great. Okay. And you're very fit. You're a big gym guy.
I am.
I'm just poking, like, give me what you're a big gym guy.
Right. Yeah. I started off going to the gym probably in terms of like weight training, like gym. I started going probably the summer between like the end of senior year of high school and then beginning of freshman year of college. And then I've been going pretty consistently ever since. Kind of started off as just like something to do, something to get out of the house. You know, that summer between high school and college, a lot of your friends start moving away, especially with like Oregon. Like we start so late. All my friends that go to like Arizona and Washington schools, they all start in like August. So I was like the last one left.
Right.
So
cool. We'll get into that more too.
Sure.
So big gym guy, IFC exec position.
Yes.
Just got a girlfriend.
Right.
Maybe get business, might get into sports management.
Yeah.
Anything else that we should know? Good or bad? Or somewhere in the middle?
Big Chargers fan. I don't know.
Chargers fan.
I guess. Feel like there's hot take, but there's not a lot of Chargers fans nowadays because they sucked for so long.
Good.
So
you don't need any more.
Gotta rep LA.
You can always join the Colts team.
Well, I think, you know, I enjoy having
this is our team.
This is our Colts. This is our team.
Bleed blue.
Is that gonna be you in 10 years?
2 years. What are you talking about?
Well,
second I graduate. Second this podcast fails, that's where I'm going.
Oh wow.
So, first place. Okay.
Okay.
So today what we're going to do
is we're going to dive a little behind the scenes into Kaden Meeker.
Sure.
And what I want to do is I want to start with you being really young and then work all the way up to the present day.
Right.
And kind of see, okay, how did you become the person you are? Learn a little more about, big things, your what's it called? Canon events.
Oh,
Your canon events, a little more about some of the struggles you've dealt with, some of the breakthroughs you've had. And I think it'll be a really cool experience for listeners to get insight of, okay, we see Kaden. Kaden's got a girlfriend now. He's got exec position now. He's a sports business guy. But like, okay, that's kind of what I know about every person that I meet, right? Like what's actually going on. I think there might be opportunities for people to relate to you and your story. So Are you ready?
I am. Let's do this.
All right. Were you born in Beaverton?
I was born in, technically, it was considered like the Portland metro area. It's kind of in that like weird little bubble that's considered Portland, but it's not really Portland. It's very close to Beaverton. If I'm being honest with you, I don't remember like the actual like town
upper
name.
Northern Oregon.
Yeah, I'd say like Northeast Oregon, like west side of Portland.
Okay. And then when do things start coming into memory for you? Like around what age?
My first ever, like if I go all the way back,
Right.
it's like my fourth birthday.
Really?
It's like my first ever like major memory. I was out my backyard. My birthday's in September, so it's like back end of summer, still hot.
Mm-hmm.
Insects are still out.
Yep.
I hate bees. I had one of those, those big like buzzy bees.
Yep.
This little guy was flying around, and I'm this little tiny kid. I'm like swiping at it.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of flies up next to my head, and I like catch it in my ear. So I trapped the bee in my own ear.
Thinking you've won.
Well, I don't know if I really like thought about it until it stung me.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, the bee's in my ear, which, thinking back, I'm not really sure what the thought process of.
Right. You were thinking like a 4-year-old for some reason.
I was just, my hand had a mind of its own back then. So
first memory, 4 years old. You have a younger sister. How 3 years younger?
it's like 3.5.
3.5 years younger. Okay. So tell me about, life life before middle school. Like what was that like?
Right.
How was your family life? Were you active? Were you a sports kid? Were you shy?
Right. I wouldn't say I was shy. I was definitely known to cause some issues in class. I think it was just
A rebel rouser.
less of like a class clown and more of just like I just kind of wanted everyone to like me, I guess. So I would do things class clown-esque, make jokes, funny stuff.
For attention.
Right. But yeah, it was definitely, my elementary school was a K through 8, and it was all in one building. So it was very interesting to like, you would interact with a lot of different people through like different age groups. So like coming into middle school, high school, college, like I have friends that I've known since I was 8, 9 that are years in front of us and years behind us just because
of the way your school's set up.
Right. But yeah, kind of class clowny, never really had the best grades,
Okay.
but solid B average student,
Yeah. Were you sporty?
I was up until freshman year of high school, I did baseball and soccer
Okay.
pretty competitively.
Yeah.
I was always on travel club teams, normal club teams through the high school, middle school, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And what was home life like?
Like just like day to day, like
Yeah, I know we're stretching here. It's,
Right.
It's before middle school. Like
Sure.
you're really young, but just like, what do you think it would like? What you can remember? Like, I'm just trying to get as much insight of like, okay, what was Kaden like
Sure.
before middle school?
I mean, my family has always been like super close. Like we've always done, going back before me, my parents actually met at University of Oregon,
Really?
and my mom's parents are also like legacy students. So
That's
the Ducks
cool.
have like always been like in our life, I guess.
Yeah.
And so growing up, especially like in the younger years, like I would we've had season tickets to the Duck game since Autzen Stadium opened.
Wow.
So we've I've probably been to 100 plus home games. So that was just like, that's just in our blood.
You showed a
Like,
picture when we were at spring game of you as a baby
Yes.
at Autzen.
I went to my first football game when I was 8 days old.
Wow.
September 21st, 2003. We played Michigan Wolverines.
I don't know. You might be a bandwagon dude. It's kind of you're kind of late to the party.
Maybe,
8 days.
maybe.
That's it.
Yeah, which I didn't actually make it to the seats, but I did have my own ticket that they scanned and let me in. So I still have that in a shadow box.
Really?
At home, yeah. I've kept they used to give you physical tickets, right? I mean, just like a concert.
Back in the old days.
Back in the old days, yeah. But they don't do that anymore. But we used to have tickets and we would write like the day and like who went, like who from our family, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever. We'd write on the back of it. We'd write like the final score of the game and like who won, who lost. And we have this like box at home
That's cute.
that we put all of them in.
It's very cute. Okay, so family was very close. Big Oregon Duck,
Yes.
third generation.
Yes. Fourth, actually, technically.
Fourth generation Duck.
Technically.
And you were a little bit of a rebel rouser, not the best grades,
Right.
very athletic.
Right.
All right. Anything else to add that we should know about you at that time? Any notable things?
From back then,
I know it's tough. I know it's
Oh.
tough.
I can't think of anything like crazy that
Okay.
like happened in preschool. I ran into a wall and cracked my head open.
Oh,
So maybe
that explains
has
a lot now.
contributed to
now we
the
know.
behavior that went on as a kid.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So let's move on then.
Right.
Middle school.
Middle school.
That is a weird time to be alive.
Yes. My middle school, it's where the part of like Beaverton that I'm from is kind of like this weird little own world where there are so many people. So many people.
How many is so many people?
Well, just to put it into perspective, my high school graduating class is 800.
Wow.
800 plus. I don't remember the exact number, but it's over 800.
Yeah.
Which is like, I feel like very on par with like a lot of like the California.
Yeah, it's a sizable, especially for Oregon. It's a
Right.
that's a big school.
Right.
Yeah.
But even for middle school, like we probably had, I'd say between 400 to 500 kids in middle school.
In your class?
Yeah. Just in my class.
Wow.
Well, no, maybe like 200 in my class.
Okay.
Maybe like 5 to 6.
But still a lot of people.
But for middle school too, I feel like that's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Middle school was definitely an interesting time.
Right.
I think 6th grade me was that kid that would wear the full neon green outfit
Yeah.
because,
As we all were.
right. But it definitely, I think, was the time where like my social skills kind of started to like
Develop.
right.
Yeah.
I think because like it's interesting going from a school where you've known everyone for 4 or 5 years to a brand new place where you know, I obviously you would know some people because it's relatively local, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people I didn't know, and they split you up by hall.
Right.
So we had orange, green, red, blue, purple. I was assigned to purple hall, or no, blue hall.
Okay.
Blue hall.
And no blasphemy on this podcast.
No. I can't be throwing blue hall into the bus like
Come on
that.
now.
We've been through a lot together, but yeah, it was just weird, like because you have lunch with all these people, but when you go to class, it's just the same. There's 2 social science classes, 1 math class, 1 science class,
Mhm.
and you kind of just rotate. And you go to all 4 in one day. I feel like that's how a lot of people's middle school was, but
Yep.
it was like you wouldn't interact in a class with people from a different hall.
So how many people were in your hall? Like 50?
Probably no. Each class, it was like
It was like per class.
so it was like 30 people per class, but you have 4 going on at once.
Okay.
So you have a little over 100 people probably.
So you have this kind of group of 100 people that you can interact with,
Right.
basically.
So it's like, and that's it too. Like when you go from 6th to 7th grade, you don't change halls. I was in Blue Hall
Really?
for the only way you would change halls is if you like requested it or if you like came in late as like an exchange student or something like that.
Okay. So you've got this group of like 100 people. Was your middle school 6, 7, 8?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got this group of 100 people that you're kind of like with for 3 years, for better or worse. Like, what was that like? Was it good? Was it bad?
It was, I mean, I honestly, looking back on it, I think I got pretty lucky. Like, I had friends from all of them because you would have like lunch and like recess to like socialize with people from other stuff. But I think I still talk to a lot of people from
Blue Hall.
Like,
wow.
We still are like super close. Like, most of them stayed relatively local for college as well. So we hang out every once in a while through like summer.
So you had a tight knit group of friends. How big was your group?
I think, in middle school, you're probably looking at like 20 kids. But
really?
Now I probably still talk pretty consistently with like maybe like 5 or 6 of them.
Okay.
Which I feel like for
that's really
middle
good.
school is, not very common.
Yeah. So middle school, then growing up socially, did you feel pretty confident?
Yeah.
You had your group of friends?
Right. It was definitely a challenge in 6th grade when, all of my friends from elementary school, they were all put in Red Hall. I just kind of ended up that way. I was like one of the only people in Blue Hall. So I didn't really know anybody. And then it just kind of, you have one class, you sit next to some guy, and then somehow that guy is one of your best friends for the next 3 years. And, you still talk to him.
So like, it worked out nicely.
Right.
Okay, great.
But yeah, and then his name was Colin.
Shout out Colin.
Yeah, we sat next to each other first day, social science, Miss Sunderman's class. And he had come from a different elementary school where a lot of his friends also ended up in Blue Hall.
Okay.
So he kind of like introduced me.
Brought you in.
Right. So I feel like that probably helped a little bit, but
nice.
And then it kind of just like, you spend so much time for 3 years with the same people, like you're bound to cross paths with everyone.
Right. Great. So socially worked out nicely. You met somebody, introduced you to new people, even though you're kind of on your own because your other friends went to Red Group.
Right.
Red Hall.
Yeah.
What about, like did you hit puberty then? Was it kind of late?
No.
You were late, right?
I was a very late bloomer.
Little kid. Did that bother you, like being small?
It was definitely in some aspects hard, but I feel like, especially like in sports, like I was always short and fast. Like that was my thing. I've always been the fastest player on every team I've played on. And what? And what?
It's a short joke. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
You're like,
I get that.
I've always been the fastest.
Right. No,
bad joke.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I got that.
I'm sorry. That was low hanging fruit. That was unnecessary.
I was probably 5'8" now.
Right.
My driver's license when I was 16 says I'm 5'1".
Wow.
Which I probably stretched a little bit on. My driver's permit I got when I was 15 says I'm 4'10".
You were tiny.
Yeah.
You were tiny.
I was tiny.
Yeah.
I'm still relatively.
You're probably
small.
Skinny then too, right?
I was. Didn't break 100 till sophomore year of high school.
Wow.
So,
for anyone listening, by the way, Meeker is one of the most fit people that I know. Like he's not going to go in and bench 320, 325, but like you could go to like a natty, like bodybuilding show, and I'd be like, he could probably compete.
I don't want to admit it, but I probably could.
You could.
I probably could.
Okay, so middle school socially goes well. You're really small.
Right.
What about like mentally? That's like that's kind of. I feel like that's the first time a lot of people kind of start to like get self-conscious. I mean, it's different for everybody, but
right. I would say, at least for me, I don't know if the self-consciousness really started until high school. Like I kind of, I had like a group of people that like also were a little late to the party. So I wasn't like the only short one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there were some kids that were, you know, already breaking 6 foot,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I feel like for the time, like I was pretty content with it. Like I've always been pretty content with like, I know I'm not going to get any taller.
Right.
I like, that's not like my mom's 5'4", my dad's 5'9". Like it's just not in the cards.
You were practical about it early on.
Like
okay.
I knew that was, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got a girlfriend in 6th grade.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Early to the party.
It was just a crazy time.
Right.
But
How
that
long did you guys
also
date?
technically probably like a year and a half.
Whoa.
But like we were still together in 7th grade, so to speak. But like I don't know if we'd had hung out for 6 months at that time. It was just
snapping or what?
I wouldn't say. Well, she asked me out at like the lunch table.
She asked you out?
Yeah, she asked me
out.
That. And you know, being 6th grade and you know, you're like just starting to like develop those feelings. I was like, if I'm being honest with you, I had no idea who she was, but I was just like having a girlfriend would be like
awesome.
Really cool. Yeah. Like nobody else had girlfriends in my friend group. So I was like, this would be really cool. And like, to be honest with you, she was pretty dope. Like I haven't talked to her in years at this point, but you know, it's a middle school relationship. It wasn't
right.
I maybe had like 1 or 2 pecks here and there, but yeah, it was, I feel like that also probably attributed to my social life because she had her own little friend group from a different elementary school that I went to and that my buddy went to. And so it was just another
more people to meet,
group of people. And I feel like it's just like, especially with meeting so many people and like, I had that little like, I wouldn't say charismatic, but like I had the people pleaser, like, you know, just like trying to be friends with everybody. Like that was just kind of my thing. Like I just wanted to make people like laugh, I guess.
Yeah.
So
okay, that's really cool. All right, first girlfriend in 6th grade. And then if you don't mind me asking, like when you were growing up, was like, did you have to go to like church or anything like that? Was that a part of your life?
No, it wasn't. My mom gave my sister and I the choice when we were like really, really, really young if we wanted to. And you know, obviously like everybody can believe in their own, you know, whatever they want to.
Right.
I personally just like, you know, believe like it's a little like silly, but like, you know, if you want something, like
not
go
for you.
get it, you know. It's just like, you know, it just wasn't for me. And so I was like, you know, I knew what I wanted in life and like kind of that just didn't really like fit in to the picture back then. But
does your sister and parents go or anyone go anymore?
No, my like grandparents I think still go, but I think my parents kind of like dropped it when they had kids and then they got jobs and we just didn't really have time to go.
Phases out.
Right.
Sure. Okay, so 1 through 10, what would you rate life 6th to 8th grade?
That was pretty peak. I think that was pretty peak. I'd probably give 6th through 8th grade, 6th through 8th grade.
Yeah. Like 10 to 13.
I feel like 7 to 8, to be honest with you. Like it's pretty solid. Like nothing really like, I feel like at that point you're kind of just like living your life, like making friends, making connections, and you don't really have any like responsibilities to worry about. Sports haven't gotten like super competitive yet, you know, like obviously you're still trying to be a starter, but like we're 10 years old, like it's really not that deep yet, you know.
So 7 or 8, I mean.
Yeah.
And the peaks, the highlights being got a girlfriend, made a lot of friends, made a lot of friends.
Right.
Life was pretty easy.
Right.
Got to play sports.
Yeah.
Lowlights being pretty much that you were just tiny.
Right.
Any other lowlights?
Not that I can think of, really.
All right. That's a great start. Right. All right. So that's middle school Meek.
Right.
I'm going to call him Meek throughout the episode, by the way. That's because we call him Meek.
Yep.
It's just naturally. I'm like, Kaden, it's like Meek. It just comes out.
It's okay.
I was doing that with Annabella. I kept calling her AB. And she was like, you know, like no one other than Beta calls me AB.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but it's AB.
Meeker is definitely, it's almost like a lineage at this point. Like,
It's gotta be. I don't, Kaden. There's
who
so many
cares
other
about
Kadens.
that? Right.
You're Meek.
Right.
You're Meeker.
My
You're the Meeker.
previous teachers, my younger sister, has gone through all the same teachers that I have in school, and Meeker, like,
Yeah.
you Caden's little sister, but it's always
You better behave.
it's always Meeker. The teachers called me Meeker in high school.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know what it is about the word. It's just easier to remember.
Yeah. I was Batch. A lot of people call me Batch
Yeah.
because it's just easy.
Right.
And my little brother's gotten, when he was in he got it a lot in middle school. Yeah, we call him Baby Batch up here. But he got a lot in middle school. Like, oh, you're Nick's brother. You're Nick's little brother. I don't think he liked it at all. But
he used to work at a bowling alley in high school.
Right.
Obviously, I've since left since going to college, but she just started working there about 6 months ago.
Really?
And it's like a legacy at this point. Like,
yeah.
Oh, Meek. It's the same game.
Yeah.
Meeker, I know your brother. Yep, that's him.
Yep. Do you think she gets annoyed about that?
I don't think so. I mean, you guys have Baby Batch. We have Mini Meek.
Mini Meek.
So that's actually what they call it.
Really? Hey, Mini Meek.
Mini Meek.
Yeah, it's pretty great as an older sibling.
Yes.
When you see your little sibling getting called Mini you, Baby you.
It's like a little bit of an ego boost.
Oh, it's totally. Especially when they're the younger one and they get like spoiled. You're like, all right, let me have this.
We get one thing.
We get one thing. I saw my parents like memes all the time of like oldest sibling like making their bed, youngest sibling like VR headset and a butler next to them.
Yeah. My sister has 2 rooms at home.
Exactly.
I have the smallest room in the house and she gets 2.
Sounds about right.
So
it's just part of life.
Yeah.
Fuck. Damn. In another life, we're the youngest.
It's all right.
This is actually a special episode.
Whoa.
This is episode 20. Any idea why it's special?
Because I'm on it.
Well, of course. Other than that, though.
I don't know.
It's special because we're now in the official top 1% of like longest going podcasts.
Whoa.
Because statistically 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3.
Wow.
And of those 10% left, 90% of those don't get past episode 20. And so we've now made it long enough that we're in the top 1%, numbers, quantity wise.
Wow.
Soon to be quality wise.
Wow.
After this episode, right? We're going to get 1 million views.
Right. For sure.
Okay. High school. There's a lot to dive in here. We're going to start with freshman year.
Okay.
You get to high school. Did you go with all your friends in Group B or Hall Blue?
No. I didn't. So we have I'm sure it's probably the same for you, but boundary lines.
Yep.
Depicting which high school you go to. So in the city of Bethany, which is technically where I live.
Okay.
Bethany, which is in Beaverton, which is in Portland. So it's
I don't think anyone's fact checking you.
It's okay. It's just this whole, I keep saying different.
Someone's listening and going, Bethany is not in Beaverton. That one person.
So the boundary line was split down this road, but I lived on the other side of the road where all the new houses had been built, whereas all of my friends had lived on the other side where the older houses, I guess,
you were in the bougie spot. I got you.
Right. So we lived in this one area for a long time, all of elementary school. I moved into the house. I'm still in it today, but our new house, we call it, it's 10 years old, but we call it the new house still.
Uh-huh.
We moved in the summer between 5th to 6th grade.
Okay.
So it was
so you were already kind of grandfathered into the middle school is what you're saying?
Kind of, yeah. So I was grandfathered in, but then it was also where all my friends were going. But when we moved, the houses had just been built in our neighborhood. So my family is the only family to ever, we were the first family we bought the house, only family to live in it.
Okay.
Since it's been built.
Got it.
But when we graduate middle school, depending on which side of the road you lived on, it would send you to one of the 2 high schools in
So
the area.
you had to restart
3
socially.
times, practically 3 times.
Okay, so run me through the scenario. What was freshman year Meeker like?
Right. So freshman year, obviously I had like other friends from other like halls from middle school there with me. Just a lot of the blue hall people went to the rival high school.
Mm-hmm.
But freshman year, I'm still tiny.
Right.
Yeah, I'm probably probably not even 5 foot yet, to be honest with you. Like maybe 4'10", 4'11".
Yeah.
I played soccer and baseball freshman year. I was on the JV2 team, soccer and baseball.
Okay.
Freshman year,
Right.
which is like obviously have varsity and JV. Then we would have a third team. We called it JV2.
Okay.
So for soccer, I was brought up at the end of the year to play for JV.
Mm-hmm.
And then baseball, I ended up quitting.
I was gonna say, you're talking a lot of shit about. First off, we're on a softball team together, and he's like, "Put me at the front of the lineup."
I didn't even.
I played baseball.
No.
You said I played baseball in high school.
I did.
Technically, over 3.
Technically, I played baseball in high school.
But you made it seem like you were like really good.
No,
That's what I've heard. It seemed like you were good.
no. I mean, I am good.
You're warming up still.
I'm still warming
You're
up.
warming up.
That's the first time I swung a bat in over a year.
That's fair.
So
I expect big things then.
right.
No more dinks to third base.
Okay.
I need home runs.
Okay.
We almost lost, dude.
We did.
Great comeback, by the
It
way.
was a great comeback.
Anyone listening, C team softball. We play Wednesdays 5 p.m. Come pull up.
Lakefront
Field, Eugene, Oregon.
Yep.
It's right on your walk to Odson. So hopefully we expect like 300 people to be there next game. So
right.
You might want to get there early.
Yeah.
There will be a meet and greet after. We'll do autographs.
Paid, obviously.
Yeah, VIP. Yeah, it's paid.
Right.
So stop by.
Yeah.
Anyway, you played sports. You played
Yes.
baseball. Stint of baseball. Soccer was your main thing.
Soccer was.
Restarted socially. Did you make friends initially, like pretty quickly?
Yeah, I'd say I did. I mean, obviously it helps knowing people from middle school. You already have a pretty solid friend group. I feel like it's kind of like this with like college, for like the first few months, like everybody's super excited to be there.
Yep.
You're just talking to everybody. Like you don't really know like background on anybody. So
It's the time to make friends.
right. So you just kind of talk to everybody. So we definitely created, especially being soccer is a fall sport. So tryouts were over the summer. I already knew a bunch of guys from the team.
Right.
So we had already like hung out a couple times. So it definitely also helped, having the team. We would hang out after school. We had practice every day and then games like twice a week or something. So
And how are you doing in school?
I mean, it's fine. It's
A student, B student, C student.
probably like B's. I don't know if I ever sprinkle in the occasional A, sprinkle in the occasional C, but it's like a solid B's all around.
Right. And how was life freshman year?
Honestly,
what are some? Give me one highlight, one low light from freshman year.
low light. I asked the girl out. She said no. Damn. I still remember that one.
Did you tell her you had a girlfriend before though?
No.
That was where you went wrong. You go, hey, I'm in high demand.
Wow.
That's where you went wrong.
Right. I had a middle school girlfriend, so
So
you should want to date me because I've dated before.
like
have
I kissed
more
a girl
experience.
one time.
Right. Yeah.
I got experience.
Right. Yeah, that was probably a low light. Highlight, like I said before, September birthday. So my birthday is always before school starts. So I got my driver's permit before freshman year of high school even started.
That's insane.
So I was driving, obviously not by myself, but I drove to school and
That's cool.
I made it very known
That you could
that
drive.
I was driving to school.
That's awesome.
So I think my friends were maybe a little bit jealous, but also maybe a little bit fed up with me bragging about
All
how
the
I
time.
drove to school all the time.
They were like, okay, bro, we get it. You had a middle school girlfriend and you can drive. Calm down.
I was Yeah. And
I mean, life is still good.
yeah.
Life is going well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sophomore, junior year. What about those 2 years?
Well, sophomore year, it would have been what, end of February, beginning of March when school got shut down for COVID.
It was March 13th
Wow.
for me.
That's crazy that you remember that.
I remember where I was because I was
Whoa.
so excited.
Wow.
I was like, school's out for 2 weeks? Because that's all they told us.
Right.
They told us school's out for 2 weeks. I'm like, fucking A, sounds great to me.
Right.
It's an Italian,
Sure.
loving life.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
COVID
So
hit, right. I forgot about that.
beginning of sophomore year, still playing soccer. And then it was, I want to say, like maybe our second or third game of the season. I ended up like, I was just running like normally on the field, and my like cleat like burst, like ripped in half almost, like
Zion.
from like pretty much, yeah, like the top separated from the bottom. And I was like, okay, that's weird. You know, like I've brand new cleats, like maybe worn them maybe for 2 weeks, like just broken, brand new.
Uh-huh.
And so obviously, you know, you can't play in a game if your shoe snaps in half. So I go to the sideline, I get subbed out, can't play the rest of the game. And so I've got I say all my gear, like it's like more than just a pair of socks and some plastic in my sock. But
All right.
I'm like, I don't want these annoying shin guards in. So I go to take my shin guards out, take my socks off, trying to put my, you know, normal socks back on so I don't got these crazy big, bulky neon red socks.
Right.
And my foot is just bleeding.
Ooh.
Like, and what happened, right? It just imagine like, this is my big toe. My index finger is my big toe. I don't know if the camera can see my hand.
No, can't.
But
I hope you hold it up.
so like index finger, big toe,
Right.
from like the knuckle all the way down, like halfway down my foot, had just ripped open and was just like bleeding. And I had this like crazy like bone fusion junk going on, because sophomore year was when I actually finally started to grow.
Right.
So my foot must have just grown the wrong way, had some bones fused together, and I had to have this like crazy surgery that put me out for the rest of the season.
Wow.
So I was had a boot, scooter.
You had a
I
scooter?
had a scooter. I was, because my high school is huge. So I can't, you know, like you have class in one corner of the building, and then next thing you know, you're going what felt like a mile away. Like our passing periods were 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
because the school was so big. There were so many kids that it genuinely took you 10 minutes to get to your next class. So I had a scooter so I could, you know, just whip around.
Make it in time.
Right. I got an elevator key.
That's awesome.
So I like practically my own private elevator.
That's great.
My friends thought that was so cool.
You let him in with you ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, I got us.
I remember we were at the lunch table. Obviously I can't walk, right?
Mhm.
I've just had this crazy reconstructive surgery on my foot. I can't walk.
Mhm.
I have the scooter. One of my buddies at lunch grabs the scooter, starts wheeling away. Principal comes up to me. She's like, hey, like, you know, if they're not actually injured, they can't, you know, be riding around on that. And I was like, okay, like it won't happen again. Like, I'm sorry. I'll talk to him. Talk to him. Like probably the next day, the same thing happens. Different guy, same idea. She comes up to me and she's like, hey, like I already talked to you about this. If it happens again, we're gonna have to take your scooter. And I kind of like looked at her. I was like, what do you want me to do? I can't get up and like go chase him. I can't walk.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was just crazy. That just came to mind when I
Yeah.
was thinking about that. But
So you got injured.
yes,
COVID hit. Were you virtual for a while?
I was.
When did you go back?
We didn't.
Did you ever when
Senior year
you can go back
was
till
the first
senior
time
year?
I went back to school.
You did all of junior year virtual?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
How was that? Like, was that hard on you? Did you love it?
In terms of like school, it was probably That's the only time I've ever gotten straight A's. Like,
I wonder why.
it was so easy. And I was taking like AP classes and like dual credit classes and like honestly like relatively difficult classes for the time, but they were just so easy and like you could maybe cheat on.
No,
we would never though.
No,
but
whatever.
you know,
Hypothetically,
if somebody made a group chat and then sent answers to a quiz to the group chat, you know,
you could
use them to check your work. Obviously, like I'd never. But
that was before ChatGPT.
that was, yeah.
You know, it's funny to think about that. I forget, like, oh my god, we had to do work before ChatGPT.
I know. Even
We
like,
had to write essays.
remember when they had like physical paper handouts?
Yeah, man.
When's the last time you got a packet from a teacher?
Never.
Exactly.
Not since high school.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
What are binders? I haven't seen a 3-ring binder.
When was the last time I had a folder? I had my tabs and I had to like, here are my different classes.
Right.
I had to go to my locker and exchange binders.
Yes. Crazy.
It's like
yeah.
it's like the 70s.
Yeah, I think probably sophomore, junior year was where it kind of started to get a little tough. I think that's where like life kind of started to like catch up a little bit.
Can you elaborate?
I got, and listeners are going to think that I'm like just getting girlfriends every 30 seconds, but I asked her out on Valentine's Day at her basketball game. And
make a sign.
I did make a sign.
Yeah.
And we dated for probably 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously COVID hit after about like a month and a half, maybe closer to 2 months into our relationship. COVID hit. Her mom was super strict.
Yeah.
Had no, like, I couldn't come over. She couldn't leave the house. Like,
yeah.
So she inevitably broke up with me, which at the time seemed like the end of the world.
Right.
Because it's like first real girlfriend, you know,
have real feelings.
Like, you know, stuff was getting real. And then she, you know, one FaceTime call later, that's all over.
At least she called you.
Yeah. To be fair, she called. You know, that's honestly at the time, that's probably the best you could do. But yeah.
All right. So girlfriend breaks up with you. How was any other ways life was hard? I mean, school, you're injured.
Right.
Injured that sucks. That
Yeah.
hurts. Girlfriend breaks up with you. That's really hard.
Right.
School's kind of easy now.
Right.
Because you're at home.
Yeah.
Did not being able to see people affect you?
I got lucky. My parents, they had some rules, right? Like you couldn't go into like a Safeway or like anything where like a high populated area, but like, and keep in mind, this is like Pokemon Go's resurgence.
Whoa.
So my friend group and I would ride our bikes around the town through like the parks and streets and stuff. And, you know, we all knew that we were the only people we were interacting with, and our parents knew that. So they were fine with like us going and hanging out. So I didn't have a lockdown, I guess, so to speak. It was more just no more school.
Yeah.
But it was honestly, COVID was really not that bad. Our family didn't run out of toilet paper ever. So, you know, nothing really changed all that much for us.
It worked out.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you had to kind of describe the characteristics of, you know, sophomore and junior year Meeker, what would you say?
I mean, I think that's probably where you started to see change. I was very constant 6th through freshman year. I feel like same haircut, same clothes, was still wearing my highlighter stuff to freshman year of high school.
Right.
Might have contributed to the girl rejecting me, but you know, it's all up in the air at this point.
Who knows? We'll never know.
We'll never know. But yeah, sophomore year, started to grow my hair out. Actually started growing. Junior year, I think, was probably sophomore to junior year summer. All of my friends and I bleached our hair.
For fun?
Yeah, just for fun. We were just in our buddy's backyard, and he had this, like, I think it was L'Oreal was the brand.
Uh-huh.
It was just a box dye. And we were like, it'd be really funny if we all came home and all had our hair bleached. What would our parents think? And so we did it.
As high schoolers.
As we would, yeah. And it didn't end up very well, but my hair ended up more orange, I think, than blonde, I guess.
Yeah.
So
because your buddies probably did it, right?
Yeah. We put a plastic bag on our hands, sprayed some of the stuff into it, and just rubbed it around. So
real professional.
Right. Very professional.
So you start to change a little bit,
right?
Grow the hair out. What about like characteristics such as confidence or interests, or like anything notable before we move to senior year?
I think probably junior year we started our like main friend group at the time. Kind of started to have a little bit of like falling out, or like some of them started hanging out with other people from the rival high school. And then some of them, it kind of split in two almost, where one group was feeling a little left out because the other ones had some other friends that they'd known for a while, lived in the same neighborhood.
Right. So your main friend group kind of split, which was, I'm assuming, not the best.
Yeah, that was it was a little difficult for sure. It's kind of not a great feeling when like your best friend since you were, you've gone through elementary school, middle school, and high school up until this point with the same person, and then they kind of just disappear almost. It's like if we just like if I ghosted you,
and
then
like,
I
what
just
the
like
fuck?
Never saw you again. Like it definitely hurt. We never really like talked about it. It just kind of happened. But like I had a different friend group that I was hanging out with, and he had a different friend group that he was hanging out with. So we kind of just like mutually parted ways, I guess. Like there was never really like, we never fought or like anything like that. It just kind of separated, which at the time was super difficult, but was definitely in the end worth it, I think.
All right. So wrap us up. High school, senior year. I mean, it sounds like high school's going pretty good. You've had some drama with, friends, and had a short stint with a girlfriend, and sports are fun, but you keep getting injured.
Right.
And it seems like all in all, like life is pretty solid.
Right.
With some small hiccups.
So nothing really crazy junior to senior year, like summer wise.
Okay.
I did not get a haircut for 2 years.
You just let it grow?
I just let it grow. Like COVID, because nobody was open either. So I went from a complete buzz cut to a middle part down to my shoulders.
Wow.
Long hair.
Right.
So, and senior year, we were required to wear masks. Right. So nobody knew who I was. I'd grown like 5 inches.
Yeah.
I had hair covering, like I almost looked like a girl with like my hair like super, super long. But like characteristics wise, I think definitely senior year, I think I was more confident for sure. I mean, part of it came with, just like, even though you're online, like you still know all these people. You still like have certain interactions with them. You've been with them now for 4 years, so honestly, I had my best schedule ever senior year. I was hardly ever at school, which was awesome at the time.
Yeah.
I had this like amazing cooking class where I like our chef was like our teacher, professor, whatever you want to call it. We called her chef. But she was just like on Chopped like 3 times.
Oh, so she was really good.
So she was really good.
That's cool.
So I learned a lot from her for sure. But
where'd it go?
My cooking?
Yeah.
Turn into pizza rolls.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I see you now, and it's Tostitos and Red Robin, and
I mean, at this point, it's just because I'm too lazy.
Okay.
I also don't like have like the money to like go out and just buy all these ingredients just like make these like crazy dishes. But
that's fair.
I got a new girlfriend
Oh my gosh.
start of senior year. Don't worry, I was single for a while there. Pretty much all junior year.
Right.
Single, new girlfriend, one of my best friends. Like it was like one of those where like we had been best friends since like freshman year of high school.
Okay.
Technically, we went to preschool together.
Whoa.
So we've been knowing each other. Our parents worked together. So like our families were like relatively familiar with each other.
Right.
We started dating right around homecoming, which is like towards the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like in terms of like the relationship, in terms of my new friend group, which I'm still a part of today, like we still talk every day, visiting them next weekend.
Right.
Probably like, locked in for life with these guys. Like I'd do anything for them. But it was honestly like smooth sailing at that point. Like school was really easy. I didn't really have to worry about like making friends because I already had them.
Yeah. You probably knew you were going to go to Oregon.
Yes.
Yep.
I actually throw back to 8th grade. Instead of an 8th grade graduation, we had all of these like awards that we voted on. And one of them was most likely to attend Oregon State University. And then you had the other side, most likely to attend University of Oregon. And I think you could probably
wonder who won.
Take a guess as to who won that one. But
yeah,
I had I did the early app for Oregon.
Yep.
Applied in November, heard back in January, committed like literally the second that I got the email. Like I didn't even think about.
You're like, I'm in. Sounds
I was
good.
like, sure,
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm in.
And then I was lucky enough to have one of my friends from that new friend group I was talking about also going to Oregon. So we ended up rooming together.
That's the kid we see. What's his name again?
Matthew.
Matthew.
I think you're thinking of Jacob.
Am I thinking of Jacob? There's one guy who I always see that likes to tie to you.
Yeah. Matthew's the super tall one. I don't know if you probably don't see him as much as you see Jacob, but
yeah.
Shout out both of them though.
Shout out both of them. All right. So senior year goes well. Anything sounds like there's nothing really to touch on there. Sounds like everything was smooth sailing. Got a girlfriend. Friends are going well. Got the college you wanted.
I mean, I think, those April, May, June months of senior year, it starts feeling a little bit more real.
Yeah.
You start talking about college with all your friends.
Yep.
Everybody's going different places. I think maybe like end of May, beginning of June, a few weeks before graduation was just kind of like, I'd say I was probably super nervous. I think like I don't do well with change. I never really have. I'm like, I find something that I'm very comfortable with and I try to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just knowing that like my whole world was about to essentially like flip over going into college was kind of scary to like look at, but like, it's kind of just part of life. Like, things change. The relationship started to get a little rocky because she committed to play soccer at a school in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So we it definitely hindered the relationship because it almost was like putting a timeline on it.
Yeah.
Neither of us really wanted to commit to
long distance
at the time. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that ultimately ended up ending. That was really, really unfortunate. And then had that previously mentioned friend that had a fallout. We ended up seeing each other at like a park or something, just the two of us. Like I was on a run and he was just
like naturally
walking. Just naturally ran into each other. And I didn't really let the whole like friend breakup affect me, but it definitely did. And I saw him and, it's just not, long story short, I didn't handle the situation probably the best as I should. It wasn't like a physical
fight,
but
you guys got like an argument.
We were just kind of, started talking and then one thing led to another. The friend group kind of got brought up and I told him that it was, excuse my French, but
You can swear.
kind of shitty as like what he did, and he didn't really see my side and why that made me feel the way it did, and that upset me, and we had this like huge fight, and I ended up, just running off at the end of it. Like I was just over it and I left, and
Yeah.
it was definitely, I think that argument happened 2 or 3 days after the breakup with the girlfriend, but
Mhm.
it was just one thing led to another, and it just kind of like started spiraling. I felt like my life was like kind of falling apart. Friends were stretching thin. Girlfriend broke up with me. Well, mutually parted ways, but yeah, it just kind of started getting rough. And then, like I said at the beginning, everybody kind of started leaving. I was kind of left alone at the end of the summer, and it just kind of, mental health just kind of started to get hard, I guess.
Yeah.
In that time frame.
Yeah. All right. So up until this point,
Right.
life's been pretty great.
Sure.
Have had 3 girlfriends on my account so far.
Yes.
Friend groups have gone up and down, but it's always been pretty steady. You've always had a group of people to hang out with. You've dealt with some injuries and sports and COVID, but all in all, like life has been pretty good.
Yeah.
And then things start to get rocky
Yeah.
because you lose the girlfriend because of college.
Yep.
Your friends start to leave and go off to college, and now you're kind of left on your own at home.
Right.
This old, relationship that person used to be really close with kind of rocks your boat a little bit. Tell me a little more about that before we dive into college, or maybe
Right.
that blends into college.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. I think that end of that summer was just kind of like, like obviously I had other friends. Like I had my main friend group that, I'm still in now, but they had all already started school. And one of my friends was the guy that I ended up rooming with was like in like Utah or something like that, like visiting his family for like the whole summer. So he was gone all summer. So I, kind of was like, I was left very alone in a feeling during that summer. Like, obviously I had my family. I still lived at home. Girlfriend's gone, friends gone. I'm working every day. Like, and honestly, I'm just trying to like, at that point, like I'm just trying to make it to,
You're over it. You're like, let's just get to college. Let's
Right.
move on.
like, I thought the summer was going to be fun, one last hurrah,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But then, just like, it was just one thing after another. And it just kind of ended up putting me in a place where I was just like, I just felt very alone.
Mm.
And then that kind of fed into freshman year a little bit. We do the introduction orientation for all the freshmen.
Mhm.
My roommate at the time met a girl
Okay.
at orientation, and Bean,
Yep. Very small.
very small, very, very small. And I was
Like smaller than this podcast room. By a lot.
by a lot.
Like cut this in half.
Right. But I was honestly, I was very worried about, you don't really know someone till like you've lived with them. And we've known each other for a long time, but I've never lived with him. You know what I mean? So I was nervous to see how our lifestyles meshed with each other.
Right.
He ended up dating this girl. She was over all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she had backpacks, pillows, blankets, everything
In the room.
in the room.
Yeah.
I never was alone in the room.
And you didn't like that.
I did not like that. I was like, it's, as much as the room was mine, it was also his, but I felt like she was overstepping her boundaries a little bit. Like she had her own room. Like he was never over there. Like she was always over here.
Right. Did you make a lot of friends freshman year?
Fall term, I did not.
So what was like, give me the kind of the brief rundown. Like, okay, you get to college,
right?
you're a little down.
Right. A little down. It did help, being from or like going to an in-state college, like I had, like I knew a lot of people already from high school and like sports and just like, casual like networking from high school. So I still knew a lot of people. I've hung out with like my neighbor in the dorm, like just like normal, I feel like dorm stuff.
Right.
You'd watch the away football games in the lobbies of the
EMU. Dorm.
Yeah, of the
Right.
dorm. But
Yeah.
like we also watched some in the EMU too, because they're huge TVs. But
Yeah, the student center.
but it still, I wasn't alone, but like the feeling of being alone, was still there. I didn't have my core friends. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Like,
you didn't have any deep connections.
I didn't really have any deep connections. And I think fall term was probably like the lowest I've ever been. I think it was just, I was getting kicked out of my room all the time for them to do the deed and
hang out.
Yeah. It's
Work on their LinkedIn.
Sure. Yeah. Work on their connections.
Okay. So it's, low freshman year.
Yeah.
You've kind of had this great middle school, high school experience, and then like shit kind of hits the wall because you're around all these people, but you're also isolated because you don't have any deep connections. When did that kind of turn around?
Honestly, is probably winter term freshman year. That was when I decided to rush beta.
Fraternity,
yes.
Rush beta.
Don't actually. Well, you
can
if you want.
Don't rush beta.
Go to explore your options.
Oh, right. You're on IFC. You can't
explore your options.
He's not allowed to say rush beta.
Yes.
But in his eyes right now, he's telling me rush beta.
Right. Sure. Okay. You can think that.
Right.
But yeah, so
find the one for you.
Fall term or winter term freshman year, got a message from back then a guy I didn't really know, now ex-president and my big, his name's Trip. Shout out Trip. He called me and he said, "Hey, we're having a event. You should come out, meet the guys." And you always hear the statement from Greek life, you pay to have friends.
Yeah, that is the joke.
That's kind of, the time of my life that I was in where I was like, I didn't really think about it like that, but that's essentially what I was doing.
An opportunity for you to meet people.
Right. And, probably
and you were in a boot.
I was in a boot. It wasn't a full tear, but
you get injured all the time.
Last game of senior year of high school, I don't remember like the medical phrase I used, but I basically like got my Achilles as close to tearing as you probably physically can without needing to have surgery. So the only way to fix it was they gave me this special like sock that had like metal in it that held my muscles like in the right spot. And then they gave me a boot to, make sure I didn't look stupid wearing this like weird, like green colored sock with metal and also, to protect it a little bit while it healed. But showed up in a boot, walked about 1.2 miles from my dorm to the house.
Wow.
In a boot. I did not know about the buses at the time. So I walked every day.
Was the first event not at the Gerlinger?
That's where
I remember. That's where I remember I met you for the first time.
Right. I think the first, it must have been.
I think it was us playing dodgeball and all a bunch of shenanigans, like football, like all the random sports.
Yeah. It must have been.
In the gymnasium.
It must have been. Yeah. Because then, yeah.
That's where we met Braden too.
Yeah. But met all the guys, obviously, we're here now. So we met through beta, met all of our roommates through beta.
Yes.
Your roommates through beta. Obviously, I think that was probably one of the best choices I made. But yeah, so low part of my life, freshman fraternity, ended up joining, and it just kind of was like an escape for me of sorts. Like if I got kicked out of my room or I was feeling alone, like, I could always just show up at the house and I always felt like welcome and, there was always something going on,
Something to do.
people to
hang out
talk to. People
Yeah.
were always talking in like the living room or something.
Yep.
Could talk to Jan
Yes.
if I needed
I
to.
miss Jan.
Yeah.
I was our house mom and cook.
R.I.P. She's not
still,
dead.
yeah, she's
but-
still alive, but she retired.
She's not dead.
Rightfully
but
so.
Yeah. 23 years.
7. I think it
27?
was 28, 27 or
Whoa.
28. Yeah.
I thought it was 23.
No, it's more than that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I feel like that's kind of, started turning around, actually made some genuine connections with people. Fraternities are also a very good way of networking,
Socializing, having fun. Yeah.
You meet a lot of people
Yeah.
that way.
So you join the fraternity, things turn around, you make all these connections.
Right.
Between then and kind of now it's spring term, junior year. So there's been what? 7 terms.
Sure.
What run me through any memorable, like important moments in your journey from the 7 terms that were important for kind of building who you are.
Right. Thanks to you last year, former IFC engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that committee was probably the first stepping stone in the journey through like Greek life leadership that I'm on right now.
Right. You joined, for context, I had the position that Meeker, the exact position Meeker has last year.
Right.
And you joined my committee to help with Greek Week,
Yes.
FSL Week here at Oregon.
Right. And, I got the chance to see a little bit of like the behind the scenes as to what like the IFC executives do.
Yeah.
And I ended up running for the position in the fall. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And between that point and now, I've attended 2 different leadership conferences. I have 2 more lined up over the summer.
Yep.
But I think, from then till now, it's really just been like exploring my like really like realizing that like college is like where you really find out like what you want to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think like coming into college, I was like, oh, business major. I'm going to do something in business. Where it's like I've developed all these leadership skills because of this IFC position and going to these leadership conferences, meeting people from different schools and older people that, have been doing these things for years and just, I don't know.
Yeah. So it was your first opportunity
Yeah.
to be like a leader. It was your first opportunity to, it sounds like it's been a great opportunity for you to kind of push your limits because like you mentioned earlier, you're a person who likes stability.
Right.
And this is an opportunity for you to like actually kind of test things within some stability of like, okay, I have stability of this position, but I also get to meet all these people and try these new experiences and things.
Right.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else? If
I
not,
mean,
that's fine.
We mentioned it at the start, girlfriend.
Right. That's, oh my gosh, I still don't even know how, like, so this is like 3 days ago. Officially.
Let's say the first. Yeah. 28th.
3 days ago.
Yeah. 3 days.
How do you feel?
It's still,
You better say good. Otherwise, she's going to be pissed.
no, it's good. It's definitely new. It's a very interesting like feeling, I guess, not in a bad way, but just
Unique.
it's college. You have to figure out how to be, not on your own. That's not the right term, but like you have to figure out.
Independent.
Right. Thank you. That's the word I was searching for.
Yeah.
But I feel like because I hadn't had a relationship yet in college,
Mm-hmm.
not that that's a bad thing to, not have one, but sorry.
You winked at me. I've had a relationship in college.
Sorry.
He's winking at me like I've never been in
No.
a relationship in college.
No,
I've been in 2.
No.
I've been in more than you have.
Okay. But just like,
Bro gets a girlfriend and 3 days later he's better than all of us.
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, it's just like you learn how to be independent and like, you don't rely on really anybody besides yourself at this point. So it's
Mhm.
like, I still have those obviously it's new, but I still have those tendencies of like, I can just do it on my own. But like, you know, now I have that person to do it with, you know, and I don't have to do everything on my own.
Yeah, you also have someone to kind of take care of too.
Right.
Right. It's also a responsibility of like, it's also your job to be there for them.
Right. You know, vice versa. She took me to the hospital too. It was pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah. Or ER, emergency, not even the ER.
For what?
For urgent care, whatever you want to call it. I woke up, it's the same thing. I had it in the house like 3 times. It's like tonsillitis.
Oh.
It's like tonsils just like so swollen that like I cannot breathe.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal.
You're gonna have to be working really hard because it sounds like she takes care of you more than you take care of her.
Well, yeah, but my time will come. My time will come.
Right.
I'll have. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. We met
through this position.
Yeah. You know, I thought she's, you know, attractive since, you know, the first time we met, but then
since the first time I laid eyes on her,
you know, that second leadership conference, I was like, okay, you know, like I'm gonna make my move.
You were in Disneyland.
We were in Disneyland.
Great place to make a move.
Right, you would know.
All right.
Sorry, I'm just bash from the batch.
You're not wrong. I mean, you really, if you look at it, you really are following.
I'm exactly
the blueprint.
I've completely caught. Oh, okay. Way to shameless plug there, but I've literally copied you in practically everything.
Join the fraternity, get this position, go to Disneyland, meet your future girlfriend at Disneyland, make your move at Disneyland.
Yeah.
All right. That's great.
Yeah. And then, you know, we hung out a ton in Disneyland. We got home. You know,
maybe it's just the system.
It's just Disneyland, dude.
Maybe we'll send Braden to Disneyland.
Right, we should
send Braden to Disneyland
just to see what happens. You know,
like he needs to be the next IFC. We'll make him stay an extra term so he can get it.
Right,
and then we'll send him to Disneyland. And we'll see what happens.
Sure,
we'll see if it was us or if it was the system.
Right.
All right. Not to cut you off.
Sure,
but I want to do some reflections before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Obviously that was a lot, and obviously like you can't go through your whole life in an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
But, you know, looking back, like, what do you think were some of the biggest things you've learned? What are some lessons and advice you might give to other people? Like, what are some self-reflections? You're like, this was great for me. This was something, you know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing that, especially in college, that you have to learn is it's like, you kind of just have to like, you know, like do what you want to do and not worry so much about like what other people think of you. I think is like a really big one. Like, I think a lot of people, I don't want to like speak for people, but just like in my experience, a lot of people have told me like, you know, you do this or like you dress this way to, you know, fit in with everyone or something. And it's like, you know, just, you don't really have to care about all that. Like, you know, I've done what I wanted to do. I'm having the time of my life and I've met my best friends and now my girlfriend. I've had my future, like, you'll be at my wedding. Like,
we'll see.
You know,
we'll see.
Obviously, all of our roommates.
Fireball shooters, too.
You know,
for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. I think it's just, honestly, like, trust the process. Like, you know, even when it's hard and like you feel like you should be doing something to fix it, like, I'm a firm believer in like, you know, everything happens for a reason. And like, you know, if in a weird way, like the universe brought us together and like, almost like the invisible string theory where like we were meant to meet, you know, like we were meant to cross paths. And, you know, I think it's just, you just kind of have to like live your life and live it to the fullest and not really worry so much about the little things that you do wrong or what people think about you.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Meeker, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast.
Yeah.
It comes directly from my favorite show, The Diary of a CEO.
Okay.
In which the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing whom they're leaving a question for.
Okay.
And the question that was left for you is, if you had to see anyone in concert, dead or alive, who would it be? And I'm gonna hold on. before he answers, you're not allowed to say Travis Scott or Kid Laroi.
Okay.
Because you love those two.
Have a Kid Laroi shirt on
Literally.
right now. Honestly, if it's not those two, I feel like the easy answer would be Zach Bryan.
Okay.
But I've already seen him. So I'm going to go a different route. I don't know. I listen to so much music.
That
I have
organized.
so many.
Anyone. Front row seats.
Crazy take here.
Okay.
One Direction.
Whoa.
In like their prime.
I did not see that. That was out of left. I mean, I love it, but that was out of left field.
It's just like, we were like 10 when they broke up. Like,
I don't even remember.
dude,
I didn't even realize
love-
they were a
dude,
thing.
Their music is still so fire.
Oh, it's great.
I listen to them like all the time.
Yeah.
Still. Yeah. I would love to see One Direction, all
I-
5 of them in like concert together.
Yeah. Would you want to be this age or would you want to be like 16?
Honestly,
I feel like I'd want to be 16.
I've
Just because I feel like everyone around me would be 16, you know?
I feel it, I think it'd probably be fine either way. Like,
There'll be a 20 section.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think like if they all came back for one more concert,
Right.
everyone's gonna be there. Like, I don't think it would matter.
That's fair.
But it's honestly at that point I'd just be happy to be there.
That'd be,
You know, like
that would be pretty great.
I wouldn't really care how old I was.
That's fair. Kaden, thank you for, sorry, I just called you Kaden. Out of all the times, I now call you Kaden Meeker.
Yep.
Thank you for coming on, man. I really
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time.